Hey, welcome everyone back to the Eddie V Show. We are live on Saturday, March 21st, 2026. Welcome back. You might have seen it. It's just creeping in right here. Hopefully it's working right now. But we got the new mic. The new mic is in. The camera's not in yet. So this is actually, if it looks a little different, first of all, different background. Switched up the studio a little bit. But also this is a new computer, so the visual might be a little better. Camera's coming. It was supposed to be in. It's not. Nothing we can do about it. We gotta go live. We always gotta go live. Just do it. Today I'm going to be continuing a little bit of a discussion on Incarnate Creed. So I'm just going to dive right into it. So we're discussing Incarnate Creed, right? We got an embodied belief. We have our creed, our beliefs, and that is in the mind, intellectual. And we assent to those at an intellectual level. And then there's the corresponding incarnation. I'm going to use will today too. I might be using that word as well. But that is how our beliefs are actuated, are embodied in this physical world, in the cultures, especially what we're talking about. We want to be bringing out our beliefs into the culture. And I'm going to talk today about how that really affects Christians in terms of faith, but anyone in terms of whatever they believe. I'm going to argue today that belief and the incarnation of those beliefs, the embodiment of those beliefs, they support each other. So if you have something in the mind and you believe it, that is going to be some sort of battle within you to actuate it, to incarnate it. And as you act something, that's going to reinforce the belief of something. And those things are mutually supporting each other, reinforcing each other, but also degrading each other. So if, for example, if I have a belief, I believe that eating chicken is good for me. I believe that in my mind, but then I never practice that belief. That in some way I would argue is actually going to feedback loop into my mind where at a certain point I will maybe not, as far as common sense goes of whether that's true or not, maybe not, but I will lose that practice. I will lose that belief, that action. I'm just not going to maybe even think about it anymore. I'll be like, oh, chicken's good, chicken's good, chicken's good to eat. Never do it. 3 months later, still not doing it. I know I should do it, but I'm not going to do it. Eventually that belief will fade away into something else. Probably, maybe, not probably, maybe even a denial that you ever knew that thing. Like, oh, no, I didn't believe that chicken was good for me. And then I want to use so maybe a poor example because I used food there, but I wanted to use the example of the Eucharist. So I'm Catholic, obviously, and we believe in the true presence, the real presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, body, blood, soul, and divinity. So if you've never been to a Catholic Mass, I can describe a little bit, but we believe there's a consecration at the Mass where the body and blood, where the bread and the wine become the body and blood of Christ. And if you're a Christian, you know about the Last Supper. This is where this belief comes from. And we have in our church history, we've had church fathers discussing this, we've had councils declaring this, and then it's just been common doctrine, common belief for 2,000 years, stemming from Jesus Christ's command to do this in remembrance of me. So we believe that. So we believe after the consecration by a properly ordained priest in the Catholic Church, sorry, my eyes are a little itchy, we believe that this bread and wine becomes the body and blood of Christ. So, and we call it the true presence because he is truly present in the Eucharist. So there's I believe, a cognitive dissonance that sometimes happens with Catholics where this belief, especially maybe today, maybe earlier in the church's history, I'm not super aware of this, but today we really pound that belief because we believe that this belief is we believe this belief is going away to some extent due to surveys and studies, and however true that is, that's another discussion. But so with this belief, we believe this. We keep, we tell the kids, we tell each other, we tell converts, this is true, this is true, this is true. But then an issue arises when we are at mass or we're in a church that has the blessed sacrament, the true presence in the tabernacle, our actions, our incarnation of that belief is not present. It's not there. So if it's the true presence of Christ, the Eucharist, how would someone act if Jesus was truly present, especially for a Christian or a Catholic that believes that Jesus is the Son of God, is the second person of the Trinity incarnate? How would you act? And and a lot of other religions, they'll comment like, if I believe that was God, like I would fall on my face in fear or reverence, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of different ways people would maybe interact if they basically mm, came into the presence of God. And I think a big problem in the Catholic Church is that we have this intellectual belief. Oh yeah, sure. In my mind, I believe that that is the real presence because it's been told me by the church. I've come to know it by faith and reason, reasonably knowing that God is true and real and that he has shown himself in his son, Jesus Christ. But then, I've been told this from my youth. All these people have told me, people with knowledge, people the ability to explain it to me. And I've also discovered it for myself. But then when it comes to incarnate it, I come into a church that has the tabernacle with the true presence. Jesus is truly there. And I treat it like any other place. I treat that area, I treat this space that houses the Lord. I can, even in adoration, right? We expose him. For you non-Catholics, we literally take Jesus out of the tabernacle and expose him in a monstrance. There's gonna be a lot of terms here, so hopefully maybe I can cover another episode if there's questions. But people in church, it doesn't mean anything to them. Maybe if I met Jesus face to face, Shia LaBeouf actually said this the other day. This guy asked him, it was a weird interview. It's really funny. He's a funny guy. But he's Catholic now. And this guy asked him, he's like, if you met Jesus, what would you say to him or ask him? And Shia LaBeouf, he started crying. And he was saying something like, I wouldn't say anything to him. I would just kiss his feet. And I'm like, that is the reaction I think I would have. And that's how I feel when I go into a church. It's like, I'm not worthy to untie the lace of your sandal, right? Like St. John the Baptist says. So if I'm believing this with my intellect, but I'm not acting it out, I'm arguing here that you're gonna to some degree lose that faith. It's not gonna be actual for you. You're gonna have it in your mind, but it's not gonna come in. It's not gonna be embodied, and that's gonna leave even the where you had it before, your intellect. And I would argue this is maybe happening on a large scale in the church, where we all have this intellectual belief at one point or another, but a large portion of us are not acting this out. We don't have reverence in front of the Blessed Sacrament. We don't treat the church as a special place that houses the true presence of Christ. And because of that, as a church and as a culture surrounding, which is really supposed to be surrounding the Blessed Sacrament as the center of it, we are losing our culture. We are losing that embodiment of belief. And so, whether the statistics are true or not, I could believe it if a lot of Catholics do not believe in the true presence by the way that we act around it. It would be hard to convince me if you told me, it's like, oh, we're about to go into a building that has God in it. And then we go into it and everyone's like lounging around, chatting, eating, looking around, treating it like any other place. So what I would suggest, and this is maybe a big part of this show. The show's gonna be about a lot of stuff, but a big part of the show is gonna be like, how can we incarnate our intellectual beliefs, or how can we bring into the intellect, if they're true, our embodiments, and understand like, oh, that's why I'm doing that, and really line those two things up to help bring a Catholic culture into the public sphere of America. I live in America, United States, because I think a lot of people recognize the intellectual prowess of the church, and even people coming into the church recognize that, but we're too afraid, timid, don't understand properly what culture is. We're afraid to bring that out. And I want to say, even to a certain extent, it's like, if we believe that the Eucharist is truly God, like, let's just picture that in our minds, understand that, and like, how would you act? Like, if you are Catholic, you should love the Lord. How much He has given to us. He's given us the church. He's given us our very life. So let's act appropriately like a person you love. You see your friend or you see your girlfriend or your wife or your husband. How do you act? That's a person you love, so you embody that love, that knowledge of them. You hug them, you kiss them, you go to coffee with them, you praise them, you try to help them. I don't see how that could be any different when we truly understand the true presence. Jesus, I want to love you in that true presence. I want to see you. I want to be with you. I want to focus on you. You're my focus. You're my attention in these specific times when I'm in your building, when I'm carving out time for you. That time is for you. You could go out to coffee with your friend and you're on your phone, right? You're looking around, you're not paying attention to what they're saying. No, 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 no. You wouldn't do that. Or you do that if you were a terrible friend. And we want to be good friends to Jesus. So hopefully that general premise, and I'm using the Eucharist to bring that forward, is that any intellectual belief we have to bring it into the physical realm. We have to incarnate it. And a couple ways I want to encourage people to do that, especially with a specific example, is how we greet Jesus in the tabernacle. I think, so the church has a current, I don't know how much it's a rule. I should probably look that up. But usually people genuflect, which is go down on one knee, should be the right knee, as far as I understand it, to the tabernacle. And that's kind of a feudal, medieval thing, maybe a knight to a lord. And I like that. And I especially like that for the guys. I think because guys and girls, we've talked about this, women and men are different. I think that guys should see the Lord not only, as a brother, as their God, as their captain, but see them as their general in the fight. And I think that genuflect is a really cool way to acknowledge that. I think for ladies, I think we could, I'm just some guy, I'm just some layman, but it'd be cool if we had like a curtsy almost. I think it's odd that we have men and women both genuflect. It would be cool if the women did something different, more feminine, more to their position and their nature and their beauty and their elegance. They're not supposed to be the warriors. They're not, they're friends and lovers of Christ in a different way. All in the same way to a certain extent, but in terms of their femininity. So that's one way we can do this. I also want to encourage people, mental prayer is incredible, but mental prayer, if you want to know more about that, please look up a video by Gabi After Hours. Just look up mental prayer, Gabi After Hours, Gaby. But we can do mental prayer with Jesus in the tabernacle always. I'm picturing in my mind, in my imagination, when I walk into the church, the presence of Jesus in that tabernacle, because we already believe it's true. Let's just get our mind and our imagination lined up with that true belief. And greet him, say it in your mind, even say it out loud, if you're alone or it won't bother anyone else, like, hello, Jesus, my Lord, how are you? Whatever you want to say to him. So these are a couple examples that we can do, just little tiny things that we can do. Greet our Lord, physical displays, interactions with him. And it can't be to impress others or to show others, you're part of the group. I mean, to a certain extent, that's helpful, and it keeps us kind of united in that outward expression. But it's got to be from the heart too. I'm really genuflecting to my Lord. I'm really acknowledging him, right? Because it is true. All right, that's what I have today. That's a topic I'm going to come back to a lot, I feel like. So keep that in your minds, and I'll be reminding you and thinking of other ways that we can incarnate our belief, and so win the culture war. So that'll be it for today. I want to mention I did put that thumbnail, so hopefully you see it. I'm going to get a new updated one, but I thought that was funny. And I was just, practicing with all these different online art techniques. So funny. But if you're listening, thank you. Please subscribe. Please do all those things. Support the channel. And God bless you. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye now.